Today, I'm going over the big arm guide, how to get your arms as big as possible in the most efficient way possible in the least amount of time that it takes, all right? And also, I'm gonna be going over some of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make when trying to get big arms, and it might be why you're not seeing the results that you want to. It might be why you're watching this video. So this is me, these are my arms, and arms are actually my least favorite muscle to hit. I would say they're pretty decently proportionate for being the least favorite muscle that I like to hit. Going on to why I actually wanted to get big arms, I used to play a lot of Mortal Kombat 9 specifically, and I just used to see these guys, Sub-Zero and Scorpion, and I was just like, damn, these guys are jacked. I want to look like them. I don't know why. Maybe I thought it would give me some kind of fighting ability. It never did, trust me. But that was my inspiration. I wanted to look like those guys. Let's move on to the big four culprits: delts, biceps, triceps, and forearms. A lot of people, when they're talking about getting big arms, they just talk about biceps and triceps. And that's just like having a cake and leaving the icing off, leaving the frosting off. The delt and the forearm really are the icing and the flavor, and really what makes you stand out from the crowd, okay? Going on to delts. There are three heads in the delts: the anterior, the lateral, and the posterior delt. The lateral is what you want to be focusing on, followed by the rear delt. So many people isolate and waste so much time on the anterior delt or the front delt, a lazy way to say it. And I just can't express to you how much of a waste of time that is. That might be something that you're doing wrong. Just going to the gym and hitting 4 to 8 sets a session on isolating these front raises. And newsflash, if you're doing any kind of push work, whether it be a bench press, a dumbbell push, a machine press, a plate loaded press machine, odds are you are getting more than enough activation just through that, okay? If you're trying to get shoulders that stand out and make a difference, the front delt is something that you can leave out if you're trying to isolate it. The rear delt, as you can see, makes a big difference on your side profile right here, as well as the lateral delt. You want this little shadow right here, and I'm gonna teach you how to get that. In terms of the lateral delt, my favorite and only 2 exercises that I ever used to build my shoulders were the dumbbell overhead press seated, as well as the dumbbell lateral raise standing. Now, you might be saying, Chris, this is not a dumbbell lateral raise, this is a machine press. Well, I would argue that this is just as good as a workout. It's not what I use to build my shoulders, but I use it a lot now, okay? So this is really great, especially for doing drop sets on, which I highly recommend on this machine. But what I like to do on the dumbbell lateral raise is I actually did cheat reps sometimes. I used to use some momentum to get up heavier weight. I was doing like partial cheat reps with like 55-pound dumbbells in each hand with dumbbell lateral raises. And I honestly think that made a difference. They weren't clean, but I think they made a good difference. And we'll get into cheat reps farther in this video. So the rep scheme that I recommend on both of these, I personally did 4 sets each, twice a week, 2 to 3 times a week even. And I did 12, 10, 8, and then another set of 8 reps. As I would go down in the reps, I would go up in weight. That's how I did it. I did a pyramid style. Same pyramid style for the rear delts. However, I would really stick to 6 to 8 reps on the reverse pec deck. And I would make sure to go heavy on this. Something my coach taught me, and it fucking worked. Go heavy on the reverse pec deck. Reverse cable flies, very great workout. I would do higher reps, 12 to 15 here. 4 sets each, twice a week, maybe even 3 times if you're recovered. Going on to biceps, 3 heads to focus on here. Here's the breakdown on what kind of exercises hit each head. I would not focus on isolating the brachialis, so I would not do any workouts with the neutral grip curling. I personally just think it's a waste of time. If you want to, you absolutely can. But if you're trying to be efficient, focus on the long head. Okay, short head followed by. This is me, this is my bicep. As you can see, I honestly think this peak, this whole video is somewhat, affected by genetics, but the long head is what I'd focus on. The bicep curl, the standing barbell bicep curl, does hit each head a little bit, but it does hit the long head and the short head mostly. What I like about the cheat curl, the barbell cheat curl, I highly recommend it if you are like an intermediate to advanced lifter, but you really have to know your body well. What I mean by cheat is you're not thrusting the bar and then bending over backwards and doing a somersault to get the bar up. You are just using this much momentum and you're bending over this much to help you get a heavier load up, okay? I'd only recommend this if you have a healthy lower back. This will not injure you. I did it a lot, never got injured from it, okay? My next recommendation is a single arm, not double, single arm preacher curl. This allows you to isolate so much more and lets your mind to muscle connection flourish, okay? Not only that, is that I would recommend you actually rotating your wrist when you have the dumbbell. I think this would be counterclockwise so that your pinky is actually closer to your head than if you were to start just like this, okay? So try to have your thumb facing the ground and away from you a little bit more and having your pinky face you a little bit more than usual than you usually would, okay? This little twist, actually, this is what it looks like from this position. This is how you might usually start a curl, just like that. Twist it just a little bit like that at the top especially, and feel that squeeze right there. That little tweak makes a huge difference. Last recommendation is a seated incline dumbbell curl. Absolute killer. The main reason I recommend this is the stretch. You get to let your arms stretch and your biceps stretch, and you start from a stretched position, okay? You do start from a stretched position on these ones as well when you're going down, but there's just something about letting that weight hang, man. You let the weight hang, all right? I would recommend hitting biceps twice a week, 3 sets for all of these, okay? Moving on to triceps. This is the bread to your butter, okay? Triceps are very important, and I see a lot of people mess them up. And a lot of people really like to do medial head and lateral head workouts. Guys, lateral head is the easiest thing to grow. This is your lateral head right here, right there. I literally grew my lateral head by bench pressing. I didn't even know what a tricep was. True story. I was in the gym. I didn't know what was going on. This is my first time I could go to the gym by myself. I would bench press every day. No joke. Bench press every day. 2 weeks later, I noticed a bump on my arm. Didn't know what was happening. Found out later it was my tricep, all right? You can work your lateral head so easily. I would literally recommend you only doing like tricep pushdowns like for 3 to 6 sets a week max. You don't need to focus on it that much. Same thing with medial head. Medial head gets worked by pushing downwards, okay? Pushing downwards like that, okay? Usually dips hit them just fine. And if you're trying to work chest, dips should be on your program because they're so effective and they get hit enough on that. That leaves us with the last culprit, your long head. Your long head could literally eat and spit out the other 2 tricep heads on your arm. Your long head is two-thirds of your upper arm, okay? This is the long head, this little guy right here on me, all right? And then the lateral head right there, okay? Once again, long head, this huge fucking croissant, as well as the other side of the croissant right here. Lateral head. Recommendations: a ton of volume and a ton of weight on the long head. I recommend, if you want to see the most results, just working the long head. Just isolate the long head. Overhead pushes is what does it. Single head, single arm, overhead cable push, just like that, as well as a dumbbell or a cable skull crusher. I literally if I were to go back and tell myself something, I only used to do tricep pushdowns. Sure, you can keep that in, but the dumbbell skull crusher and cable skull crusher, I would literally do 5 sets of that and have it I would think it's more effective if I were to go back in time than just doing like a full tricep workout trying to hit every head. 5 sets of skull crushers twice a week, 10 sets total a week of long head work. I think that'd be great. Or you can switch it up and do these 2 for 3 sets each, 12 sets a week of long head work. That should be good. Moving on to forearms. Okay, you have your flexors, your extensors, and your brachioradialis. A lot of you are like, what the fuck? Yes. These are actually very important. A lot of people, they don't even know that their forearm makes this big of a difference. I mean, this is a huge difference in your arm. The worst thing that you could do is have a huge upper arm and then have like skinny little forearms. It just looks completely unbalanced. What you want to do to work these is you want to work the top of your forearm. Okay, I see so many people go in and do this. Do not do wrist curls. Trust me, you can work your forearms when you're doing biceps as well. That part of your forearms works completely fine. You want to do the top part of your forearms right there. Okay, the top part is going to make the biggest difference. I'm saving you so much time by telling you this because so many people go in and they do like 12 to 15 sets a week and probably waste a cumulative hour a week doing these kinds of wrist curls and little things like that. You can if you want, if you have the time. Not efficient in my opinion. Reverse grip plate curls supersetted with reverse barbell curls are the best option in my opinion, or you can do cable curls. I would do the plate curl as the following exercise in the superset, because I wouldn't recommend just going more than a 45-pound plate, because I mean, you can if you want. It gets tricky. If you really want to do it, go for it, honestly. It won't hurt. But reverse grip barbell curls or cable curls are the bread and butter. I would do 4 sets each. It's a volume game on arms, okay? Go intense, okay? That is what I would recommend for that. I would recommend you not doing any kind of bullshit like this. You can if you want. It won't hurt you. It's just a waste of time, in my opinion. If you're trying to make the biggest difference in a fastest amount of time, those are all of my recommendations. I hope this video helped. And if you want to get more guides like this, subscribe. And yeah, thanks.